Good morning to all the students of class 10th. Students, we had already done the 100 dresses part 1. Here we are going to begin with part 2nd. Before the lesson, I would like to give you certain instructions for your COVID-19 appropriate behavior. Students, like you already are aware that Unlock 5 has already started. Slowly and gradually, we are becoming accustomed to the atmosphere, to the environment during this COVID 19. But we should not forget certain things that wearing mask is mandatory wherever you go outside of your house. It's important to wear mask. Yes, following physical distancing, social distancing, that is 6 feet. It's equally important, and maintaining your hand hygiene, especially hand hygiene. Personal hygiene is important, and hand hygiene too. Wash your hands frequently, always with soap and water, and for at least 20 seconds. Remember, do not touch your face, do not share food or drinks with others. I hope that you are going to follow these instructions very carefully and you will adapt this appropriate behavior in you till we are COVID-19 free. Now, let's begin with our lesson. While the class was circling the room, the monitor from the principal's office brought Miss Mason a note. Miss Mason read it several times and studied it thoughtfully for a while. Then she clapped her hands. Attention, class! Everyone, back to their seat. So, in the first part, we came across that Wanda Petronsky had won the drawing competition. She was declared as the winner, but she was not there to take the award. This developed the curiosity in Maddie and Peggy. Both felt very sorry and wanted to personally say sorry to Wanda and wanted to stop her to not go and stay with them and continue the schooling. Now, next day, Miss Mason got a note from the principal office. She read it to the whole class. It was a letter from Wanda's father. Miss Mason stood there for a moment, adjusted her glasses, and there was something very curious coming from the letter. Wanda's father's letter was a matter of great importance. Everybody listened closely as Miss Mason read the brief note. Dear teacher, my Wanda will not come to your school anymore. Jake also. Now we move away to a big city. No more holler palak. It's a slang which is used for a person having Polish descent. Of Polish descent. No more ask why funny name. Plenty of funny names in the big city. Yours truly, Jan Petronsky. This letter by Wanda's father made the teacher think very thoughtfully that she wasn't aware of. She could make out that there was some problem that Wanda faced in the school and therefore they had to leave it. her father had mentioned in a letter in a very precise manner, but it could indicate that Wanda was not feeling good because everybody would tease her with her funny name and would always trouble her with slangs. A deep silence met the reading of this letter. Miss Mason took off her glasses, blew on them, and wiped them on her soft with white handkerchief. So Miss Mason did this deliberately. It was an indication that the students of her class would not have behaved with her like an outsider. She put them on again and looked at the class. When she spoke, her voice was very low. I am sure that none of the boys and girls in room 13 would purposely and deliberately hurt anyone's feelings because his or her name happened to be a long, unfamiliar one. Wanda Petronsky, belonging to a Polish society, she had a different name from others. She faced this discrimination from the beginning and from the girls of her own class. But her teacher made a statement in the whole class that she hoped that nobody from her class had ever made fun of Wanda because of her long, unfamiliar name. She took the assurance that if it has ever happened, was it happened in thoughtlessness. I know that all of you feel the same I do, that this is a very unfortunate thing to have happened. Unfortunate and sad, and both. And I want you all to think about it. The teacher somehow knew that there was something wrong in the class, but she made a very positive statement that she could encourage, she could make an impact in the minds of the students that whatever has happened was not good at all. It was very disheartening, it was very sad. And everybody should think about it that whatever has happened should not be repeated again. The first period was a study period. Maddie tried to prepare her lessons, but she could not put her mind on work. Why? Why she could not put her mind on work? Because she had some sick feeling going around in her mind that about Wanda. She started thinking about the past times that they had while making fun of Wanda, of her name, of 100 dresses. She did not enjoy listening to Peggy asking Wanda how many dresses she had in her closet. So everything that they did, that they had this behavior towards Wanda, started revolving in the mind of Maddie while studying, while preparing her lessons. She was a coward. At least she, Maddie, had thought they were doing wrong. She could put herself in Wanda's shoes. She was a coward. She is calling coward. Herself. She's calling herself coward because if this would have happened with Maddie, what would she would have reacted or done? She started putting herself in the shoes of Wanda and it started feeling very bad to her. Goodness, wasn't there anything she could do? If only she could tell Wanda she hadn't meant to hurt her feelings. She turned around and stole a glance at Peggy, but Peggy did not look up. She seemed to be studying hard. Well, whether Peggy felt badly or not, Maddie, had to do something. Now, she thought that wrong has happened and she could correct it. She turned towards Peggy. but she seemed to be indulged in her own work. She thought that she herself had to do something. She cannot rely on Peggy every time. Maybe Peggy would climb the heights with her and they would tell Wanda she had won the contest, that they thought she was smart and the 100 dresses were beautiful. So she thought that why not she and Peggy go to her place that is at Boggins Height, tell her that she had won the contest, tell her that how wonderful she is, how smart she is, and the hundreds dresses that she had drawn on those sheets were so beautiful. So she thought about this idea. When the school dismissed in the afternoon, Peggy came to Maddie and with a very casual behavior, with a very casual manner, she told her, "Hey, let's go and see if that kid has left town or not." Here, that kid is Wanda Petronsky. So Peggy spoke in a very casual manner to Maddie that why not they go and check whether Wanda had left the city or not. So somewhere Peggy was thinking similarly like Maddie. So they both hurried out of the building and straight away moved towards the Boggins Height. "Well, at least," said Peggy gruffly, "I never did call her a foreigner or make fun of her name. I never thought that she had the sense to know we were making fun of her anyway. I thought she was too dumb, and gee, look how she can draw." So Peggy started talking to Maddie and told her that she never called her a foreigner, neither she made fun of her name. She also thought that Wanda looked so dumb that she thought that Wanda would never be able to understand anything. Maddie could say nothing. All she hoped was that they would find Wanda. She wanted to tell her that they were sorry they had picked on her and how wonderful the whole school thought she was, and please not to move away and everybody would be nice. So Maddie was least interested to what Peggy has said. She just had one thing revolving around her mind, that she had to tell Wanda that they are sorry for picking on her, that how wonderful she is, that everybody wants her to stay here only. She and Peggy would fight anybody who was not nice. They even fight for Wanda. If anybody would behave differently with her, they would fight for her. The two girls hurried on. They hoped to get to the top of the hill before dark. And then finally they reached at a certain point where they could see a little white house. There were grasses all over there, and the house was looking little shabby, but it was neat and clean. It reminded Maddie of Wanda's one dress, her faded blue cotton dress, shabby but clean. But when they looked around, they found not a sign of life about the house. No one around. Peggy knocked on the door, thinking that somebody would come up. There was no one. They even saw from the backside of the house, but they couldn't find anyone. The Petronskis were gone, and they were worried that how could they ever make amends, how they could show that they are sorry for doing something which was not good. They turned slowly and made their way back to their home. Well, anyway, said Peggy, she's gone now, and so what can we do? Besides, when I was asking her about all her dresses, she probably was getting good ideas for her drawings. She might not even have won the contest otherwise. Now, Peggy spoke to Maddie that now she has already gone. Wanda has already left the place. They can do nothing about it now. And she takes the credit back to herself that whenever she asked Wanda about the dresses she had, she would be getting different ideas about her for her drawing. And if she would not have teased her, if she would not have talked to her about the 100 dresses she had, she would not have those ideas. So somehow she's taking the credit back to her. And here we're talking about Peggy. Peggy says that she might have not won the contest if she would not have talked about the 100 dresses to her. Maddie turned this idea carefully over in her head, for if there was anything in it, she would not have to feel so badly. But that night, she could not get to sleep. She thought about Wanda and her faded blue dress and the little house she had lived in. And she thought of the glowing picture those 100 dresses made, all lined up in the classroom. At last, Maddie sat up in bed and pressed her forehead tight in her hands and really thought. This was the hardest thinking she had ever done. After a long time, she reached an important conclusion. That night, Maddie could not sleep properly because the only thing that she was feeling bad about is Wanda Petronsky's and their behavior towards her. She couldn't stop thinking about her, her faded blue dress, and the little house that she had lived in. She thought about those glowing pictures in the classroom of her drawings. Maddie sat up in bed and pressed her forehead tight in her hands and thought. She reached to a conclusion that she will never going to stand by and say nothing again. She will speak now. She got the courage to speak against the bad, to speak against the odd, to speak against the wrong. If somebody is doing wrong, she would speak. If she heard anybody picking on someone, or making fun of others, she will not stop. She would interfere, she would come in between and tell the person not to do so. Because treating someone unkindly, unfairly, criticizing, it's not good. She had no way of making things right with Wanda, but from now on she would never make anybody else that unhappy again. Even if it is meant to lose Peggy's friendship, she was ready to do so because she will not going to stand by anything that is bad. On Saturday, Maddie spent the afternoon with Peggy. They were writing a letter to Wanda Petronsky. So finally, they both decided to write a friendly letter to Wanda Petronsky about the contest, about how she won the contest. They even wrote about the pretty dresses that she had drawn, how beautiful they were. They wanted to say sorry. They even wanted to ask her how's her new teacher, how her new living place is. So they wrote a very friendly letter, signed it with lots of X's for love. They mailed the letter to Boggings Heights, writing please forward on the envelope. They thought that one day this letter will definitely reach to Wanda Petronsky. But days have passed and there was no answer from her. The letter did not come back. Maybe that Wanda had never received it. Or maybe there can be another reason that she was hurt and angry that she will not answer to them. Now, slowly and gradually, time passed. There was no answer from Wanda. Both the girls, Peggy and Maddie, started living their life normally. Peggy had begun to forget the whole business. She started getting back to her normal life, forgetting about everything. Wanda started putting herself to sleep at night. She uh, would think about the speeches that she would make against the people, how she will going to save Wanda from the crowd, and she would come in between and say aloud stop, and everybody would feel ashamed of what they were doing or making fun. Now the Christmas time arrived and there was no snow. Christmas bells and a small tree decorated the whole classroom. And on the last day of school, before the holidays, the teacher showed the class a letter that she had received that morning. And everybody became very curious about whose letter it was and what's there in the letter. The teacher said, "You remember Wanda Petronsky, that she had sent a letter and she had written a letter to the teacher. Dear Miss Mason, how are you and room 13? Please tell the girls they can keep those 100 dresses because in my new house I have 100 new ones, all lined up in my closet. I would like that girl, Peggy, to have the drawing of the green dress with the red trimming and her friend Maddie to have the blue one. For Christmas, I miss that school and my new teacher does not equalize with you. Merry Christmas to you and everybody. Yours truly, Wanda Petronsky." So, Wanda had written a letter to her teacher, Miss Mason, and it was a beautiful gesture by her by mentioning that she had made the two special drawings for Peggy and Maddie. And when Maddie and Peggy held their drawings very carefully, they were very ashamed of what they had done. They had a hope that now Wanda is not angry with them and now she had sent a letter for them. But again, Maddie was little sad. Why she was sad? She was sad that she would never get to see the little girl ever again and could never really make the things right. She went home. She pinned her drawing over a torn place in the pink flowered wallpaper in the bedroom. The shabby room came alive from the brilliancy of the colors that Wanda has used for Maddie. Maddie kept on looking at the drawing, at the dress that Wanda Petronsky has prepared for her. She stood by and said nothing. Tears blurred her eyes. She gazed for a long time at the picture. Then hastily she rubbed her eyes and studied it intently. She became really emotional that how badly they behaved with Wanda, but on the other hand, she was drawing dresses for them. The colors in the dresses were so vivid, were so vibrant that she had scarcely noticed the face and head of the drawing. It looked like her. When she observed the drawing very carefully, the face, the hair, and everything looked like Maddie herself. Her mouth, her face, her own self. And she realized that this drawing that she had prepared long time back, when they teased her, when they made fun of her, she had drawn these drawings during that time. Excitedly, she ran to Peggy and shared with her only after watching the picture of Peggy. When she looked at the Peggy's drawing that Wanda had told her teacher to give was a green dress, when she looked at her, she found that The head, the face of that picture looked similar to Peggy. So she had made the drawings for both the girls, Peggy and Maddie. And then Peggy realized that she must have liked us that time also. Despite making fun of her, she was very sweet. She did not take these things to her heart but made drawings for her classmates. Yes, she must have, agreed Maddie, and she blinked away the tears that came every time she thought of Wanda standing alone in that sunny spot in the schoolyard, looking stolidly over at the group of laughing girls after she had walked off, after she had had, sure, 100 of them all lined up. Yes, Maddie agreed that she must have liked them, but she couldn't stop her tears flowing from her eyes, thinking about Wanda Petronsky standing at the corner and all the girls surrounding her making fun of her. She could see her all the laughing girls. Students, after this beautiful lesson, we got a message that we should not judge any book by its cover until unless you know what is it inside. You never know, you might get confused by the physical appearance of a person who is shabby, who's wearing shabby clothes, wearing the same clothes, who's very quiet, who's very shy. You never know what's going inside their mind. You never know how creative and artistic they are from within. So, before judging someone, make sure that you know the person in and outside both. Don't make judgments before knowing a person, before knowing anyone. And please, please do not discriminate among yourselves. Do not discriminate against anyone on the basis of caste, culture, creed, or religion. I hope that you will listen to it carefully. You have listened it carefully and you will adapt all these things in you. Like here in this lesson, in the last, Peggy and Maddie had realized their mistake and there was a drastic change in them, especially Maddie. Because from this lesson, we came to know that Maddie was a highly sensitive girl. She could sense and feel the pain or the suffering that Wanda had gone through their teasing. So she made sure that next time if something bad happens, she will going to stand and speak against the bad, the wrong.